Today we're live with another one of our sponsors. In fact, our very first sponsor, General Finishes, Euro Finishes in the UK, for Europe. So you're the distribution for General Finishes in Europe. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So we just wanted to really bring you on to just have a chat to, so the attendees can get an idea. We often learn about your business, but like Kate said, we very rarely get to learn about the people behind the business. So we're just having a little chit chat. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about your business and how you got started in this?
Yes, we've been importing General Finishes for about 14, 15 years, I think. I haven't counted the number of years. And in the last few years, been in partnership with John, doing our paints and finishes. It just called it. Sorry, visitor just arrived. Yes, so we've been importing General Finishes. The factory is in Wisconsin, in America, and we very much specialise in water-based paints and finishes. High quality, very much focused on performance of the products.
I think in our industry, you're probably known best for maybe not so much the paint, but definitely the top coats and the stains and the finishes.
Yes, we've got a very comprehensive range. We, as well as supplying to retail and trade, also to small scale manufacturers. So we do a wide range of products, dye stains, wood stains, glazes, and then the milk paint, which is very popular. That's a very durable water-based paint that you can use inside or outside. And then the top coats, high performance being the most popular one. This is our best-selling product, high performance. We also do a very low sheen top coat called Flat Out Flat, and we also have one which is more like an oil finish, which is called Enduro-Var.
You've got a lot of products, but you're very well known in the industry, aren't you, for like having top quality products. That's my understanding with General Finishes, as in it was mainly for the trade originally. Is that right? And then it went out to the DIY market.
I would say so. The high performance in America, 3 times the Fine Woodworking magazine tested it, and it came out best overall. So it's a well-established product and product range, and it really the amount of problems that we have from customers is very low. And of course, with finishes, it's a very difficult. People perceive things as being quite complex, but the products are very easy to use, very low odor, and they work. And that's the important thing.
Definitely, I can say, if I can just continue on that, I don't have Roy's expertise in these products, or his ability to use them is far superior to mine. I come as the screaming amateur home decorator who doesn't really know what he's doing, but loves to find out as he goes. And I've found the paint particularly, I mean, that's my favorite shade of blue, Klein blue. And that's the pint size, US pint. It's so forgiving, and the adhesion, the coverage, everything. And I thought, this paint is so expensive, I can't afford this. It must be for, as we said, a high-end professional user. And yet the amateur comes along, and the results I get, I'm so proud of them. Yeah. And the amount of work, the amount of coverage I can get from one small tin is astonishing. Yeah. I've covered up some awful gloss paint in my on the picture rail and cornice in my living room at home. I didn't know what I was going to do. How am I going to remove it? And I found I didn't have to. I just painted this water-based paint right on top of it, and one coat, I was astonished. This awful pink had vanished. So my introduction to these products was simply to use them and discover that they're very easy to use and the screaming amateur can produce a professional looking job.
Yeah, I often use them because I used to spray a lot. I don't retail anymore, or I don't paint anymore as such. But when I did, we did a lot of kitchen refinishing and all sorts of refinishing. But I used a sprayer, and so that was my initial introduction to general finishes, because I was looking for products that I could spray.
Yeah, all our products are suitable for spraying. A lot of them are suitable for brush application as well. If you're purely doing spraying, we have products which are just for spray application, and they're a slightly lower price point, because when you're producing a product for brush application, you have to add extra ingredients like defoaming agents and leveling products to help them level. So that makes them very good for brush application. But if you're spraying, you don't need these items in the product. So we say to people, if you're just doing spraying, we have equivalent products which you can use, and you save a bit of money as well.
Yeah, I think before the restrictions came in about the oil-based products being shipped, I used to use the I can't remember the name of it now. It was an oil-based white gel top coat.
Armaseal was the general finishes one, which was an oil-based, but the VOC's too high. The whole factory, the factory still makes some oil-based products, but in America it's state by state the rules and regulations. So they can only sell them in certain states now, and they do foresee a time when the factory will be purely water-based, because they can create the performance and usability of the product just as good, if not better now, than the traditional oil-based. But the important thing is that the method of application can be slightly different. So you don't use a water-based product in the same way as an oil-based, but you can still get the same results.
I just think there's something really beautiful about an oil-based product over the top of wood. So you just can't.
What we do have is Enduro VAR, which is a hybrid product, and this is the only product you can't intermix with all other items in our range. Everything else you can intermix. You can mix a paint with a top coat or a stain to create whatever effects that you want. But the Enduro VAR is a hybrid finish, and it has oils in it and has a slight pigment, so it looks and feels like an oil-based product. So if you've got an oak tabletop, for example, this is ideal. It gives a wee bit of warmth and a nice feel to it, but it still has all the benefits of being water-based, ease of cleanup, low odor, etc.
Interesting how you can mix oil and water together like that. I think that's one of the things that the furniture painters are really scared about, actually, is refinishing wood. They're getting more confident about paint and understanding paints, and they try different brands, but it's the wood refinishing, I think, that people would love to hear from you about, as well as spraying. Spraying is, again, something that we could be doing more of, but we're not.
No, indeed.
I think we get a lot of people we do woodworking shows as well, and a lot of people come along and say it's the thing that they're least sure about is doing finishing, and a lot of the time it's a matter of, get them to hold a paintbrush. We use a lot of them. We import the Gen poly brushes. These work really well. A good quality foam brush. There's a lot of poor ones out there. Sorry, we got a truck going past. But we just find when people start using the product, they just find that ease of use, and the fact it's not something to be so frightened of. Of course, practice and testing is the key, especially if you're doing staining. A lot of people are very worried about staining wood. They don't know what the result's going to be like. But if you just we're in a cul-de-sac, and of course all the trucks turn up on the same day. If you just do a wee test sample with a piece of wood, people within 5 minutes, it's like, oh, that's how you stain. It's really very straightforward. Everything behind here is paints and stains. So we sell a lot of stains. The stain market's really gone up.
Walnut's very popular this year, and that's the thing. Colours, they seem to trend from time to time.
For sure.
The dye stains we saw a lot to guitar makers, and guitar makers are fanatical about the quality of the finish that they produce. And some of our trade guitar makers, they're selling guitars for £5,000 upwards. So they're obsessed by the quality. So they're happy they want to find the best stains and finishes to. And these top coats, you can buff them up to high sheens. That's not very fashionable just now, although gloss has become more popular recently.
Yeah.
5 years ago, we could hardly sell a tin of gloss, and now it's quite significant, the sales. But people making guitars, they want to then buff them up so it's like a highly polished finish. But we have all the sheens going down to flat, and also, as I mentioned, we've got a very low sheen, flat out flat.
Yeah, I think that is something that changes with the fashion, so to speak. And I think we've had a really long run of matte paints and matte finishes, and I don't know. I can see a change. I'm personally fed up with it, just a little bit. I just think, oh, I need a bit of sheen now. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's definitely changing.
This is our current milk paint colour chart, and it's lots of blues and greys just now. They're the really popular colours, blues and grey. Of course, the whites have always been popular, but it does change. So we do change our palettes, but of course you can mix all these together, and we've got like a colour deck which shows you all the different mixtures. But the easiest way is you just do make your mix. It's quite straightforward. Just make sure you keep a note of what mix you do. Digital scales are an ideal way of doing that.
Just to the milk paints are not actually real milk paints, are they? They're just, the finish is equivalent to what a milk paint finish would be. Is that correct?
Yes, it is meant to be. Is a modern acrylic paint, but in America they had what they call milk paint, and they had it over here, and which did have casing in it, but our paint is to replicate that. So there's no milk in it. I'm a vegan, so I can assure you there's no actual milk in the product.
Yeah, that's always good to know. So the last year, Sharina did a demo on stage. So Sharina from Shabby Nook is one of your stockists, and she represented you at the event last year. She did such an amazing job.
We love Sharina. She is amazing. Yeah.
She is, yeah. She's one of our best friends, actually. So, but good. I'm not saying that just because she is. Everybody loved her. She was a real treat.
She really helped us because she stepped in because it was a very busy time for us last year, and I was getting married a couple of weeks after that. So I'm afraid there's a choice: do I get married or do I come to the event? I'm afraid.
Could you choose?
John was my best man as well. So.
You'll get it right next time, right?
So we're looking forward to being there.
She did absolutely great. She's got this real microphone voice that we just didn't know existed, and she was amazing. She made us, I think it was very easy to watch and listen to, for sure.
Yeah, and I think everybody used the stain and the top coat. I think Sharina's on, actually. She just said, "Oh, bless you," she said. But I think last year she showed, or everybody was. On the demo, they all tried out the stain and the top coat. I think it was, wasn't it, Sharina? She'll answer in a minute.
Good.
But it went down really, really well. I think, like you said, people were surprised how easy it was.
It is one of those. It's definitely one of the things that. See, furniture painters aren't necessarily trained painter and decorators or woodworkers, or they haven't necessarily got that background. So they're really terrified of using, stains and varnishes over natural wood. So I think it'd be really good if you could, concentrate on that in a big way, because people are still they still have real confusion about whether you can put a water base on top of an oil, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. and how to prep, how to test that it's ready to be sanded, what grades of sandpaper,
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. You know, that's what I think would be an absolutely brilliant demonstration.
The factory produces a lot of very good YouTube videos. So if you go to just search for General Finishes YouTube,
They do.
and Tom, who's our main contact with the factory, great friend, he's featured in a lot of them. And if we have technical questions, Tom's the person that answers them for us. But no, the YouTube videos is, I learn a lot from them as well.
Mm. And the group, there's a General Finishes group as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Julie, what's her name? She's an old friend of ours. Julie McDowell, yeah, she's an old friend of ours, and she helps in the group, doesn't she? But that's a very useful group if anyone wants to go and join that, because you can ask all the questions and you get all the advice, and they quite often point you in the direction of those videos. But really useful group if you want to learn about wood.
We got somebody asking, she's called Nina, are General Finishes bringing out their stain blocking primer in grey anytime soon?
Oh,
Probably not. Have we heard? I don't know.
I haven't heard, but I can ask that question. The stain blocker is very, as you probably know, is very much about reducing tannins and existing stains from coming through. We are very much into, you have to do some preparation with our products, especially for adhesion. But the stain blocker is a wee story about that. The stain blocker, the factory went out and bought every stain blocker on the market and tested them, and every single one failed in some circumstances. So they then decided that they would develop a stain blocker that performed, and they didn't really look at the cost of it, because it's so important that a stain blocker works. So that's the way that the stain blocker was developed, that they sort of normally think, well, we need to price this to a certain point. But with the stain blocker, they went purely for performance, and it costs a bit of money, and you can use it, and you don't really know every time whether it was worth putting a stain blocker on, but it gives you that assurance. There's nothing worse than a project coming back that you've sold 6 months later, and the stain or the tannins have come through, and you have to then strip back, put a stain blocker on, and redo the whole project. So
General Finishes stain blocker, is it a water-based product?
Yes.
So is it magic then? Because we were always under the impression that stains can only be truly blocked by a shellacked base.
No, it's not shellac based. Being a vegan again, I don't tend to use shellac, but no. If you look at our data sheet, the safety data sheet for the product, all of them are on our website. It does tell you what the ingredients are in the product, so you can actually look up and see how it's formulated. What it doesn't tell you is how to mix the different products together, and that's really the key thing. Is how you actually, they say they're like chefs. It's really about how you mix the products together to create the performance. It's not just the ingredients that you use. But we can ask, and it might be that you could tint the stain blocker in itself. But we'll ask if they're going to do a grey. I'm sure it's a question other people like to know.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's in this US quart, and a full gallon, a US gallon, if that's what you require. So, if you've got a lot of stains to block, get the gallon.
I mean, those sort of sizes are perfect for furniture painters, because, of course, they continuously do the same job over and over again. So that would be great. So Antique and Modern. So this is our friend Annette. She's a General Finishes. Stock is in America. She said GF stain blocker is such a fantastic product.
She's quite correct. It really is. And as I said earlier, I'm not an expert, but I've used it at home, and it really is very good. I've got some old doors in my house that I've stripped them right back. I got rid of that oil-based stuff that was on them, gloss paint, And yes, I've seen some stain come through, so I'm learning as I go. I put on a coat of milk paint, and then on the knots, there's a bit of staining coming through, so I go in with some stain blocker, and that cures the problem.
Yeah.
We get a lot of these sample boards from the factory, and here you can see you don't really see the color definition so much on the camera, but where we've got the stain blocker on, the white has not changed color, but if without the stain blocker, there's a very pink hue to it.
Yeah.
I think if I hold it sideways, you can see the difference better there.
We all recognise that colour coming through.
Yeah. Here's a solution. It's not the cheapest product. It's probably the most expensive on our range, but it can save quite a few headaches.
What sort of price is it?
Well, this week, it's I think this is just under £50 for a US quart. So
just under a litre.
Now, you can buy something that claims to block stains for half that amount or even less, but it won't work as well. It's as simple as that. So
it's a false economy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've not yet tried that one. I've got to be honest. I don't.
Yeah, I would like to try it. I was just skeptical about the water-based part of it. I'd always been told you have to have shellac, so I was like, I didn't want to stray to something else. But does it come in smaller sizes, and how long does it keep for?
Well, the shelf life of everything is really, if you hammer down the tin and keep it in a cool place, then it will last very well. And I would stir it now and again as well. I've seen some suggestions that transferring an opened tin into a jar, perhaps for storage, and then you can see it properly if it's settling too much, or you can stir and keep it going, keep it moving. But it keeps very well. All these things. I've used paint. We've got some paint that we've never quite got around to using, or it's an old sample tin that's been stuck on the shelf for years, covered in dust. Now I've opened up some of these tins, given it a stir, and you can bring the paint back. It may have settled down. It's quite watery on top, and all the heavier ingredients have settled right to the bottom of the can, but you can stir and stir and stir, and it will come back, and that beautiful rich color comes back. The palette of colors that General Finishes have in their paints, I think, is incredible. And the names, I don't know where they come from. I'm not always sure. Klein, I don't know. Holiday red, yes, okay, red.
There's a story behind some of the names.
I'm sure they're quite clever. Coastal blue. I don't think of the coast and wonder how blue it might be, but let's go for it.
The shelf life tends to vary. Once you start using it, the important thing is that when you reseal it, that the inside rim, which is what they call the chime, is kept clean. So you shouldn't be brushing your excess off on the inside of the tin, because if then you don't get a perfect seal, that can deteriorate. But generally, the shelf life you talk about 3, 4, 5 years. Some of our specialist products for the industry have shorter shelf lives because they're using different polymer systems. But for the more sort of consumer-friendly ones, the shelf life tends to be quite good.
Okay. Interesting.
The range of the stains that you've got are vast. I mean, there's dyes and water based, and I think that can be daunting for someone to think. But even if they saw something, maybe it was in a dye based, they would think, okay, I like that color. What am I going to do with the top? Do you know what I mean? It's marrying all of those things together. I think is where the difficulty.
The dyes and the wood stains are slightly different technologies, as in the dyes are pigments. Sorry, the dyes are. The dye stains are like the chemical colors, so you get all the bright colors, whereas the wood stains are mainly pigment based, and they give you the sort of the browns and the reds, so the wood colors. But traditionally in furniture making, you put a dye stain on first, and then you put a wood stain over the top, and so it increases the depth of the color, and you get different absorption rates as well with a dye and a wood stain, and how much it brings the grain up. We also have a very popular product that if you are staining onto a soft wood, which is very problematic, tends to go very blotchy. And we have a pre-stain conditioner. So it's a coat that you put on first, and that reduces the absorption of the stains. So you get a much more uniform finish on it.
Yeah. I've used that one. That was recommended to me by Kate Whitson.
Yeah, Painter Kate's a great advocate for our products.
She is. And she'll be there.
Yep.
Good.
Kate Gibson will be there.
And Gibson, yeah.
They're our favourites. They're so
knowledgeable.
They're dynamic when they do their stage, presentation. They bounce off each other. I suppose it's because they're married, and so they bounce off each other really well. It's a great watch.
We see those comments down the side. We're just seeing them as they flash up.
So Sharina said,
you must answer Sharina's question, Roy, because.
All right. When to use a dye as opposed to stain? Really, the difference is twofold, and I point to the YouTube videos where you get a better answer than I'll give off the cuff. But really, it's the way when you're staining wood, always try on an off cut, because you really get an idea of what's going to happen when you put the stain on. You tend to put a bit of an excess stain on, then wipe it back with a lint-free cloth. And then if you need a bit more depth, you put a second, occasionally a third coat on and repeat. But it's really how it affects the grain of the different woods. But also it's the fact that you get the brighter colors. So if you're doing a guitar, you use the dye stains because you get the reds and the greens and the blues, which you don't get from the pigment stains. But you can say that there's if you Google this, there's classic combinations of colors, and sometimes you might use if something's too yellow, I think you can put a green on, which is like the opposite in the paint color circle, and if you put the opposite on, it can neutralize a color that you're trying to get rid of. There's a lot just now about trying to get rid of this sort of yellowy orange color.
That's a really popular question, actually. So that's something, if you could bring along and demonstrate how that works, that would be
yes,
really
and how you can knock that yellow
a green stain.
And you put a green on, and then you put the wood stain on, so you've knocked the yellow back on your first sage.
If we get asked, we're in a painters, Facebook group, and if we get asked about, trying to knock back the red or orange tones on wood, they want a whitewash. They want a whitewash, but their wood's bright red, and so we normally suggest, to do a wash of a grey paint first, just to tone down the orange or red, and then try with their whatever finish they were going to start with in the first place. But it's asked often. People often would try to.
Yeah, I've seen that solution as well, which it works.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Whitewash was very popular 5 years ago. Seems to be less popular now, though.
What was that? Sorry.
The whitewashing furniture, that whitewash look was very popular sort of 5-10 years ago, but it seems to have peaked a bit.
It's coming back. I think people are liking that.
Yeah, I was good, but maybe in a kind of a grey wash or something like that, partly to knock back that yellowy orange colour. But I'd really actually just like to see it in green, just to see how that actually works. That would be really interesting. Yes. I think you've got loads of knowledge and loads of products that could really help us. So.
But you can create your own green wash with, sounds like green washing. You can create your own really just by mixing a green paint into a top coat or something similar. Because the products are intermixable, you can experiment and create your own products.
Yeah. Sharina said, I think come around and on the up. I'm not really sure what that comment means.
Around and on the up.
She'll let us know. So are you have you got any ideas about the things you're going to demo this year, or
we're going to sell Yeah,
Do that too.
we're going to try and we might try and enlist someone to demonstrate for us. Try and find a lovely young assistant, because neither of us are either young or lovely. So we might try
We'll
and.
look to hear from you.
I think it should be you.
Really, I think really is explaining the range and finding out what people do themselves. You know, very much the first question is, you know, what experience have you got? What products are you trying to finish? What look are you trying to achieve? And then, you know, matching the products to that and showing them how to use the products to do it.
I think in the refinishing world at the moment with furniture, I think a lot of furniture painters they're being braver, and they're very interested in showing the wood. And at the moment, as far as we can see, there's only like a couple of treatments that they use with that system. And I think there is ground there for other products to be able to be put forward, because at the moment I think everyone's go-to is just like one sort of oil based varnish to put over refinish. I think that would be really useful to a lot of
and misunderstandings, isn't there? Because a lot of people are using Osmo oil and they think it's an oil, but as Kate explained to me, it's actually a varnish. So it's learning to use the product, but also actually understanding what it is that you're using, which will help you get the right results. But there's definitely we need educating on that for sure.
General Finishes as a company, we're not General Finishes. We're just we import and have a very good relationship with them. But as a company, they encourage people to use their products with other companies' products. So they're quite happy if you use someone else's paint, but use our top coat or whatever. Obviously, it doesn't come with the guarantee that everything's compatible if you're mixing and matching. But generally, there aren't many problems. You just have to watch any products that have got wax, for example. The adhesion becomes a problem. So none of our products generally have waxes in them. So you can put one product on top of another.
Yeah. I like that idea that I'd like companies where they're not kind of just completely obsessed with their products and saying it can't be, you have to use all of ours from start to finish. I think that's really useful and realistic as well.
Of course, the best solution is to use General Finishes for every step of the process.
From start to finish.
And it comes with a guarantee that everything will work together. But no, we have no problems with people selling and stocking different products and people mixing and matching.
Yeah.
People need to be creative.
Yeah, and it's realistic, especially in today's market. It's realistic. Sharina says it has to be you guys because your knowledge is amazing, and that comment was about the grey wash and the lime wash coming back.
Yeah, so we're all thinking the same thing.
That's really exciting. I can't wait for the demonstration. We never really get to take part in it because Kate and I are running around ticking boxes, but it's still really, still really exciting to.
I'm going to start practicing immediately. This is.
How are you with a sprayer? How about doing some paint spraying? We'd love that.
Next year, we'll do some spraying. Let's take one step at a time. Please, what sort of numbers, attendance-wise, you've got lined up this year?
So about 100.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, good.
Yeah. I think we had 85 last year. So
It'll grow and grow. Yeah. No, that's plenty actually.
Yeah, it's a tricky year this year. Everyone's a bit worried about money and all that type of thing. And we're trying to encourage them that coming to the event will sort of give their business a boost and infuse them again and make them feel confident, and they'll go back feeling really inspired to get on with their business. So, because it is a difficult year for everyone. So
we're looking forward to this very much. Yeah, it'd be good to meet. We're going to meet for the first time, but Sharina, I'll very much look forward to meeting Sharina, of course, and one or two of our other stockists we've not managed yet to meet in person. So that's something we look forward to, and many other people too.
Especially with the
I think you're
COVID.
surprised by how much collaboration happens because people have met at these sort of events, because you can know someone online, you might even email them, but it's a different, it does make that difference. It's pretty good where that's concerned for business anyway.
It's a real shortcut for not just like for the furniture painters to meet brands and try all the different stuff out and find what they like, but like you say, it's the brands meeting their stockists, and there's just so much going on. I mean, it's just not enough time really. And we talk paint all day long, from breakfast all the way through lunch. We're in the evening with a glass of wine, we're still all yapping about paint.
And it is funny that you think we're there for 3 days, 2 whole days. And when we write out the itinerary, when we write the schedule out, we're like, where's all this time gone? I mean, and we were laughing because we were trying to steal some time from their lunch to get back on the stage. We didn't, but we wanted to, because there's just not enough time in the day, even for, even though we've got the whole weekend. So it's pretty good. The downtime when, in the evening after the meals, all of that connection, networking, it's really good fun.
Yeah, invaluable.
Well, good luck with all your organising.
It is a lot of organising.
You would believe.
Yeah.
Well, you would believe, I'm sure. It's a bit like a wedding. Sarah said the other day, it's a bit like a wedding. So you're experiencing these matters.
Organising a wedding during COVID was not the easiest thing, but it all went very well.
Oh, good. I'm glad. We'll
it was
let
still touch and go at that point, wasn't it? Even for the conference, it was touch and go whether it would happen. We were just waiting for another lockdown to happen.
Yeah, it was pretty good considering when it happened. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully we'll have none of that this year. It'll all be great. I think we probably took enough of your time up now for the day, but thank you so much for coming, and we're really looking forward to meeting you in person. It's not quite the same, is it? And everybody's hoping everybody just enjoys the event as much as they did last year, and especially with General Finishes, it was a hit. So
good. Well, we can't wait, that's for sure. Very much looking forward to it. So it'll be a nice wee break. We're going.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Across the border.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming, and hope we'll be seeing you soon. It's not actually that far off. Every time I think about it, it's a bit of a panic.
Slightly frighteningly close, actually. In a good way.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, girls.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.